later on an example of bandaging and slinging. I'll use Kieran as my lovely assistant, alright? And I expect you guys then to pair off. If people aren't happy to pair off, well then I'm sorry you can't do that part of the module, and obviously that is one of the things that we need to assess you on. Realistically guys, look, it's very simple. I spent the last 4 years working in England. I spent the last 2 years in London dealing with COVID every day, alright? I don't think it's beyond expectation for you to put a bandage and a sling on somebody, because realistically, if you don't do it today, the next one you could be doing it is on somebody for real. Now, I'm sure the other lads, like myself, have probably said it to you about doing first aid. You're here as part of your college requisite, your course requisite. Yeah, that's a free payment for you, she's giving you. Congratulations. You're here as part of your course requisite. Everybody here on the HCA training, yeah? Yeah? God love you. Absolutely God love you. Fair play though. HCA is not an easy job, guys. I say that now, you're in for a tough job, okay? In case anybody hasn't told you yet. But fair play to you. First aid is a requisite for your course and for you to go out on placement. Nowhere's going to take on your placement without your first aid qualification. Okay, so it's important. It is part of your college requisite. However, what I would say is that even though you're learning first aid for work, where do you think you're more commonly going to use these skills? Oh yeah, of course you can. Who haven't signed in, guys, look for the board and sign in, because if you didn't sign in, you're not here today. Now, where do you think you're going to utilise most of your first aid skills? At home. Absolutely. Okay, it's one of those things, okay? You'll end up using the skills more often at home than you think, believe it or not. So good technique and good skills with bandaging and slinging will stand you. Because remember, if you have to use it on a family member or something you actually care about, you know, a little more embarrassing stand there and not know what to do with what you learned today. So, we're going to do a wrap up or kind of a recap of the material you've covered this morning. I'm going to show you some DVD for CPR AED. It's an instructional video, so we're going to watch the video through first, and then what will happen is later on we're going to go to the gymnasium where there's a nice big open area for everybody to come in and actually do CPR AED. Now what we're going to do is we'll break these into groups. We'll have half doing bandaging and slinging, half doing CPR AED, and then we're going to swap it over. I'm not a big fan of bringing this here one by one and physically standing over you with the pen and clipboard, okay? That's not how I assess, unless you want me to do it that way. No, I didn't think so. Yeah, alright. Everybody's looking at me going, please no. Okay, we'll do it as a group and as a team. Everybody works together, because realistically, if this does happen, especially CPR and AED, it is an absolute team effort, and you're going to require everybody to come in and give you a hand. So that's why I try and teach it that way as well, to get you into that frame of mind of having other people around you. Okay? So that's what the requisite is there for your practicals, and then obviously then we'll sit down and do a quiz later on. Okay? Does anybody have any questions for me? Does anybody have any questions on the material that's been covered the last 2 days on the webinars? Is everybody happy with what they've received? Brilliant. So we'll start asking questions now. We're all going to know the answers. Isn't it kind of funny how eyes change from looking at me to, yeah, ask him. Fantastic stuff. Okay, let's just do a quick recap then this morning, guys. Make sure that we know what we're supposed to know. Okay, because part of this course is that there's certain stuff you need to know, and then there's certain stuff that's nice to know. Them little workbooks we gave you out there, guys, they're not literally for something to prop up your seat. They're actually good reference materials. So my advice here is that start filling in throughout the course of the day what you know, okay, in those books, and then whatever it is you don't know, you can ask myself, Kieran or Kira, okay? I'm going to obviously tell you then what it is to fill in the rest. Because remember something, guys, the FAR course, when you complete it obviously today, and you get certified, the cert lasts for 2 years. But in a year's time, are you going to remember all this material? Probably not. Okay? So you need some form of a reference point to go back to, and that's these books. Okay? So let's start off this morning first. Let's have a little chat about our primary surveys. Okay? What is a primary survey? Who wants to tell me first? Here we go. So, there's a seat there, people. It's very good. Come on, don't be afraid to sit in front. It happens when you come in late. Now, who wants to tell you about primary survey?
Like the initial assessment that you do?
Good, the initial assessment, good. How long should it take? 60 seconds, 1 minute, absolutely. In our initial assessment and our primary survey, what kind of things are we looking for? before that. Seeing safety is first. Absolutely, good. So safety is number one in our primary survey. Whose safety are we worried about? Absolutely your own. Because who's number one? You are. Absolutely. After seeing safety, now we know that we're not going to go running in and potentially risk ourselves of being injured or harmed or obviously infected with anything. What's the next thing we should look for? Catastrophic bleeding. Good on you. You can tell you're in my class anyway. Good stuff. Number two, catastrophic bleeding. Look at you showing off. Fabulous. I like it. You have the notes in front of you? It was her. Her showing off. I like it. Alright, okay. Look at her trying to see your thunder badge and that. I wouldn't be taking that off for her. Good, but fair play. Good on his ladies. Catastrophic bleeding. For those who weren't in my class, the rest of the room, what's a catastrophic bleed? What does that mean? Arterial bleed. Brilliant. Okay. Why is an arterial bleed catastrophic?
Because it can lead to lumps and
I know there was none. I have these with the two names. Shh, everybody else. What is it? Say again? Go on, sorry about that. Why is arterial bleeding catastrophic for the rest of the class, please? Blood flow? Didn't answer, sorry. Oh yeah. Okay, so blood flow. It comes out at obviously quite a lot. How many litres of blood are in the human body? 5. You shall not have 5 litres of blood. Alright, good. If there's 5 litres of blood in the body on average, alright, how long, or in an arterial bleed, right? Nobody from my class answer, please. In an arterial bleed, how long do you have before all your blood is on the floor, do you think?
2 to 3 minutes.
2 to 3 minutes. Oh, we're all back alive in the room. Good stuff. Fantastic. Arterial blood, good. 5 litres on average in the body, and in 2 to 3 minutes, all of your blood will be on the floor. Okay? So hence why, if 5 litres is coming out at that kind of rate, that is catastrophic. Now, tell me something. What colour is arterial blood? Bright red, thank you. No one in the room will go, it's red. I know that. Good, bright red. Fantastic. So arterial blood is bright red. So then what colour then is venous or veins, venous blood? Dark red. Does anyone care to tell me why that is? Listen, I'm just going to ask you to sit so for a minute. Yes, absolutely. Arterial blood is what's called oxygenated. There's loads of oxygen in it, so it's nice and bright. You look like you're completely lost. Have you been on my class days? Huh? Alright. You sure? Okay, good man. Arterial blood is bright red, right? Who in the room knows what CPR stands for? Charlie, guys, what would you do with these two ladies in the middle? I swear to God, you better hope you're going on your placement wages as an HCA. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation. It's definitely what we're going to need to know for today because you're going to be doing it, okay? So cardiopulmonary resuscitation. So that would mean then that your heart and your lungs are linked, correct? Yes, Pete, correct. Thanks, guys. Yeah, fantastic. Right, so blind blood, okay, is in your arteries. Do arteries carry blood to the heart or away from the heart? Away. Okay, good. If anybody struggles to remember that, if you think of arteries, okay, think of A for away. Okay? Feel free to keep that as a little present to use. Arterial blood goes away from the heart, which means it's full of oxygen. So it's bright red. So bright red blood is going out to the body, which means that it's going to deposit all that oxygen around the body. Okay? Takes up all the waste products and brings it back in then to the cardiopulmonary system to recycle it and send it back out again. That's what's going on every day in your body. Fresh blood going out, deoxygenated blood going back. So it's going out bright red and it's coming back dark red. Alright? So it's going out bright red, coming back dark red. So that's the difference between arterial and venous bleeding. That's something you guys need to know. There's definitely a section in the workbook for bleeding and stuff like that. So if you don't know that, write that down, please. Okay? Now, how do arteries control blood flow?
They contract.
Good on you. Arteries have muscular walls inside them. Every artery in your body, and they contract and relax, contract and relax. And that's what controls blood flow going around your body. Whereas with veins, how do veins do that?
So can you say that again? Arteries have,
Arteries have muscular walls that constrict and relax, and that's what controls blood flow in an artery. But what controls blood flow in a vein? Yeah, a one-way valve system. Alright, don't know this stuff, start writing it down, because you're going to need to know that stuff for today. Okay? And don't forget guys, we're HCAs, so this is stuff you definitely need to know, because you're going into a healthcare setting. Okay? It's a different story. We deliver first aid to every walk of life. Guys who work with the likes of the Corpo and Council out big in roads, they don't need to know this stuff, but you guys are going into healthcare, you do need to know this stuff. Okay? So arterial blood is bright red, it's controlled by muscular walls, whereas venous blood is dark red and it's controlled by a one-way valve system. Okay? Now what happens as people get older is the valves can start to break down and perish. And as the veins break down or the valves break down and perish, you might find a bit of a domino effect going on where a few valves break. You'll find the vein will finally shut itself off and raise. Has anybody ever heard of varicose veins? That's what varicose veins are. Okay, when your valves in succession are broken down, the vein shuts itself off. Okay, so that's a little nice to know. And yet again, going into residential and dealing with the elderly, you'll quite commonly come across these types of problems. Raised veins, varicose veins, thrombus veins, DVTs, these are all